Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. My name is Scott Reisch, and this is Crime Talk, the most fact-driven, unbiased true crime channel on the entire internet. On the docket today, first, the prosecutors in the George Floyd matter are insistent that it not be televised. Second, a stalker breaks into a woman's apartment and it's all caught on video. Third, social influencer Alexis Sharkey's death. We'll talk about the facts. Fourth, former politician gets prison for illegal baby selling scheme. That's right, you can't make this stuff up. And the Penn State president gets his conviction reinstated regarding his conduct in the Sandusky matter. And finally, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Let's talk about it. Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Crime Talk, and my name is Scott Reisch. We have a busy docket, but before we get to the docket, as always, please, if you haven't done so already, please hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell so that you receive notifications of when we go live, like we did yesterday if you missed it. And as always, please leave us a comment below. Let's get to the docket. The prosecutors seeking justice for George Floyd do not want the trial televised. Now, former police officers Derek Chauvin, Tao, Thomas Kiernan Lane, and J. Alexander Koenig are going to stand trial for the crimes related to the death of George Floyd. Now, the trial judge in the Hennepin County case there, by the name of Judge Peter Cahill, ruled that the proceedings would be broadcast and live streamed. Now, the prosecutorial team, led by Minnesota State Attorney General Keith Ellison and joined by former acting U.S. Solicitor General Neil Catel, is insistent that the court reconsider its ruling on publicity. They argue that Judge Cahill's order is not only ill-advised, but that it is actually illegal without their consent. Now, the prosecutors filed a motion to reconsider on the issue of media coverage that the Minnesota General Rules of Practice strike a careful balance between public access to criminal trials and the right of the parties and witnesses. Those rules allow audio or video recording of criminal trials, but only when both the prosecutor and the defendants agree. Whatever the limitations required by the Minnesota General Rules of Evidence, Ellis and his team have gotten the whole issue wrong, in my humble opinion. They should not only consent, but they should rather be enthusiastically inviting cameras into the courtroom. Now, it's not unusual for prosecutors to attempt to limit media exposure in high-profile cases. That's normal. But media hysteria can, for example, make finding an impartial jury more laborious in that process. Moreover, like most people, prosecutors aren't often keen on having the public second-guess their work or the performance of their witnesses. There are times, however, though, as in this particular case, that there are compelling reasons why there should be cameras in the courtroom. Without losing sight of obviously the needless loss of a man's life, the death of George Floyd has become about much more than Floyd the individual. This case sparked a nationwide awakening, tipping public consciousness toward the level of recognition of some unacceptable deficits woven into the fabric of our society. Now, Black Lives Matter obviously existed before Floyd's death, but the BLM protests that ensued during the COVID-19 pandemic may have constituted the largest movement in history here in the United States. Now, the state's arguments are first that the Sixth Amendment goal of transparency can readily be achieved with overflow rooms and closed-circuit cameras. The Attorney General goes on and says the Constitution does not guarantee rights to a handful of people who can easily travel to Minnesota, but to the public at large. What does that really mean? Sure, a public courtroom, somebody could travel and say, I want to be seated and see the trial as it is ongoing. Everyone has a right to see the courtroom, assuming they can fit into the courtroom per se. But in today's COVID world, when trials were going on, at least here in the jurisdiction where I practice on a regular basis, they were all on Zoom. They're being made available to the public. I have said this before. I believe that all courts should be broadcast to the public so that the people can see that their justice system is working. And I assure you, when you've had cases that have been broadcast, it's a little unnerving. You're thinking, oh my gosh, did I do a bad job? Am I going to get critiqued? Yes, but that's part of the job. The greater interest is the making sure that the public is confident in their judicial system. Now, the judge has already ruled that all 4 co-defendants are going to be tried together, and they're all going to present different defenses. Now, these little nuances could help the public understand potentially differing verdicts as well. The value of media coverage is not just that it will promote a sense of general fairness, but also that it will assist viewers in unraveling the specifics of Floyd's death. The Attorney General argues that there are witness privacy concerns. I don't think that argument is going to carry the day for the Attorney General not to televise these proceedings. Lots of people have to testify in court, and lots of people have to testify in high-profile cases. That's just simply the fact of going forward in the justice system. The greatest argument that the prosecutor has is that simply the rule states that both sides must agree on the case being televised. Here, the court found a compelling reason for the matter to be videotaped. This is a very high-profile case. And people should be able to see. This case caused riots. It caused defunding of police departments. The people have a right to know the facts and not to have some speaking head spinning the facts at the end of the day. Let the people see the entire process. Now, although the rule does say that both sides need to agree, there are a list of exceptions. The Minnesota court rules do provide exceptions to the general rule that there should be no proceedings broadcast unless both parties agree. But exception 4.02a simply states a judge may authorize the use of electronic or photographic means for the presentation of evidence, for the perpetuation of a record, or for the purposes of judicial administration. So although the strongest argument appears to be for the government that the rules simply do not provide for audio and visual recording of the trial unless both parties agree. Clearly, the government does not want the people of the great state of Minnesota or the United States or apparently the world to see their evidence before the case. Possibly it could affect their case. Now, the general rules of practice in Rule 4.01 of the Minnesota Court Rules basically reiterates that, but there are exceptions. In this particular case, the court found that there was a compelling reason for the video to be made available to the public. Certainly, with the COVID crisis, most people can't travel to Minnesota to watch this trial, and certainly the capacity would be limited. So the fact that it's going to be video recorded and live streamed for the world to see is a good thing. Next on the docket, a stalker breaks into a woman's apartment, and it's all captured on video. Take a look at this. A Maryland man was arrested Tuesday for allegedly breaking into a woman's home as she was filming a video that she was going to put up on TikTok. Angel Rodriguez Gomez allegedly climbed a woman's balcony, entered her apartment, and then asked her if she was friends with him. Apparently, he turned out to be a stalker. And as you can see from this video, he's asking, "Are you a friend?" The woman leaves the apartment and asks for help from another neighbor while he remains in the apartment. Ladies and gentlemen, lock your doors. Be careful of your surroundings. We talked about this last night on our live program. We like to promote things where people can protect themselves, whether it's through a background subscription service or if you go to CrimeTalkOffers.com, you can get a home security system through SonaSafe. It's going to be there to let you know if the door's opening. assuming you're not making videos and recording it all. SonaSafe will do that. So go to Crime Talk Offers. It is a dangerous world out there, ladies and gentlemen. And as I talked about last night, if people knew about the crime that was being committed out there throughout the world, they would literally lock their doors, arm themselves, and sit in the fetal position. Now, you can't do that. You have to go out there and be strong and be bold and not let people that are going to commit crime influence your life, but you have to be safe. And this is a perfect example, being able to take care of yourself. Fortunately, this woman is not physically hurt, but can you imagine the emotional trauma she must have felt by going through this? Somebody coming into your apartment and not leaving? Be safe, ladies and gentlemen. Next on the docket, an Instagram influencer had an argument with her abusive husband before her nude body was found in the bushes. A Texas woman by the name of Alexis Sharkey feared for her life and had an argument with her abusive husband days before she was found dead on Sunday. As I stated, Alexis Sharkey expressed fear for her safety during a girls' trip a month before her death. Sharkey, 26, who last contacted her friends Friday evening, was found deceased on the side of a Houston road located 4 miles from her home. Public Works employees found Sharkey's nude body in the bushes. Her body reportedly had no visible injuries, and authorities believe she had been there overnight. Now, a friend who has spoken with the press has stated that Sharkey was going through a divorce. She allegedly told friends that she and her husband, Tom Sharkey, were basically separated even though they lived in the same apartment. During the trip last month, Alexis Sharkey reportedly revealed her husband was abusing her. Throughout the trip, he was sending apparently very awful messages to Miss Sharkey. Miss Sharkey was a social media influencer who recently moved to Houston, stopped posting as often once she did that. Alexis Sharkey was a social media influencer who recently moved to Houston and stopped posting online as often. Miss Sharkey also reportedly spent Thanksgiving with a friend, and she was hanging out with her friend more often to avoid going home. Tom Sharkey apparently told friends of his wife that the day his wife disappeared, he had gotten into an argument with her before she hopped over their patio fence and into a car. They've been able to check video, and nothing shows that Alexis Sharkey left her home in her car. Tom Sharkey has been described as controlling and manipulative, but Mr. Sharkey has told the police that he has done everything he could to help find his wife. Mr. Tom Sharkey also apparently told the news media never to call him again. The cause of death is still undetermined, pending the outcome of an autopsy. Police have not named any suspects or persons of interest in the case just yet. We'll take these facts that Miss Sharkey was being abused and was in an abusive relationship. However, we will always give everyone the presumption of innocence, and we're clearly not accusing Mr. Sharkey of any crime at this point. Even if Mr. Sharkey were to be charged, we would give him the presumption of innocence. However, we can also consider our common sense. When there is a situation where a woman is being abused, usually the abuser may have something to, in fact, do with the crime of murder if Miss Sharkey was, in fact, murdered. Given the fact that she was found on the side of the road naked would make one certainly conclude with common sense that she was, in fact, murdered. She didn't go there and simply pass out and die. And we have mentioned this before. If someone is in a domestic violence type of situation, please seek help. Don't let it come to a situation where your abuser is actually going to do something to you. There are so many organizations out there. You can call the police and let them know that you are being abused. Go to a friend, go to an agency that helps women relocate. There is help out there. Don't worry about the financial aspects of it. There is help that one can find to get out of those relationships, because unfortunately, those abusive relationships end in a very similar situation as Miss Sharkey's does. Next on the docket, former politician Paul Peterson Once the assessor of Maricopa County and a licensed adoption attorney has been sentenced to 6 years behind bars for running an illegal baby selling scheme that involved bringing expecting mothers into the United States from the Marshall Islands and then paying them in exchange for their newborn infants. That's right. Mr. Peterson was arrested last year and charged in Utah, Arizona, and Arkansas on criminal counts including human smuggling, the sale of a child, fraud, forgery, and conspiracy to commit money laundering. The charges stemmed from an estimated 70 illegal adoptions orchestrated by Peterson over the course of about 3 years. Prosecutors said the 45-year-old Republican paid pregnant women from the Republic of the Marshall Islands to travel to the United States to give birth and then charged parents a fee of up to $40,000 for the adoption. Now, for those of you who do not know, and I had to look it up, the Marshall Islands are a string of islands between Hawaii and the Philippines. And citizens of the Marshall Islands can travel to and work in the U.S. freely under the Compact of Free Association. In 2003, however, the agreement between the two countries was amended to ban women from traveling for adoption purposes. Apparently, Mr. Peterson exploited a loophole and used it to run an international adoption business outside the necessary oversight from the United States or the Republic of the Marshall Islands, according to the first Assistant United States Attorney, David Folks, who prosecuted the case. During this scheme, Mr. Peterson lied to state court judges, falsified records, encouraged others to lie during court proceedings, and manipulated birth mothers into consenting to adoptions that they did not fully understand. Wow, this Mr. Peterson sounds like he is absolutely made out to be a politician. And for those of you who said I was completely biased the other day, once again, Mr. Peterson was a Republican. We call it the way it is. We don't care what party they're from. These are the facts. He needs to go to prison. 6 years seems about appropriate. Very quickly, before we go on with the docket, let's take a quick recess. Please go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up for your background subscription service. You will be absolutely satisfied that you did. When you sign up for that subscription service, you're going to be able to search anonymously as many people as you like. And literally, while you wait, millions of public records are searched and a report is generated that you can download or email to yourself. And in that report, you're going to have information regarding the person that you searched related to criminal history, bankruptcies, civil judgments. It's also going to have anything related to sex offender registration. You're going to get marital records, property records. You're going to get information related to anything related to social media. How many accounts does this person have? How many phone numbers does this person have associated with themselves? How about emails associated with this particular person? You're going to get all of that information. Ladies and gentlemen, truth and facts are power, and it helps you make the right decision. And to make the right decision, you should have as much information available to you so that that decision is made knowingly and voluntarily. Go to CrimeTalkSearch.com and sign up today. You'll be happy you did. Next on the docket, do you remember the Sandusky case? That's right. He was the former Penn State coach who set up a charity for young kids and then maybe liked to shower with them. And he ultimately, Jerry Sandusky, went to prison for a very long time. Well, there was a lot of collateral consequences to that. There was a lot of collateral consequences related to Jerry Sandusky's plea. Specifically, the former Pennsylvania State University president, Graham Spanier, was charged with basically covering up the allegations against Jerry Sandusky. Now, the trial court dismissed the charges against Mr. Spanier. However, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit reinstated Spanier's conviction and jail sentence, which included 2 months of incarceration and 2 years of supervised probation. The appellate court said that the lower court dismissed the charges improperly. Spanier, who's 71, was fired days after Sandusky was arrested in 2011, a decade after the Penn State president was told that his football coach had been abusing young boys in the locker room by taking showers with them. Spanier had claimed that the incident was described to him as, quote, horseplay, and never went to the police with the allegations. Instead, the former athletic director, Timothy Curley, and former senior vice president Gary Schultz spoke personally with Sandusky and reported the claim to the executive director of the Second Mile, the charity that Sandusky founded in 1977 to help underserved children, where he met many of his victims. I know some people get upset with me when I say, why? Maybe it's because that's where the children are. Let's create a foundation to get close to the kids. I had one gentleman send me a comment saying that he demanded an apology because he coached kids for the love of the game. And I hope he does. And we're not saying that everybody who coaches kids or is around young children is some sort of pedophile, but you clearly have to see that the people that are being convicted of being pedophiles oftentimes take appropriate steps to try and get close to children. Just common sense, ladies and gentlemen. Needless to say, former Penn State president Mr. Spanier was found guilty of one count of endangerment back in 2017 because of his failure to act. If you are aware that somebody is abusing a child or committing some other crime against a child, you need to act. It's just the morally right thing to do. Some people have statutory obligations to report child abuse, such as teachers, doctors, nurses. Those people do. A lot of people don't, but it's the right thing to do. But apparently, the good former president, Mr. Spanier, liked a winning coach and was more concerned with the football record than they were with protecting children. Mr. Spanier, enjoy jail for at least 60 days. Next on the docket, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Please meet Paul Kijik. He is 50 years old, and apparently he went out to a bar the other night and was a little intoxicated. In fact, so intoxicated that people at the bar had to take away his keys and make sure that he wouldn't drive. So Mr. Kijik called for a taxi. Well, apparently he was a little too intoxicated even for the taxi driver. So Mr. Kijik did the next logical thing to do, which was simply punch the taxi driver, jump out of the car, begin dancing, screaming obscenities, including saying, quote, "You white I'm Rick James," end quote. The 6'3", 300-pound Mr. Kijik, who lived less than 2 miles from the bar from where he was arrested on disorderly conduct as well as public intoxication. He is released on a $600 bond. We'll try to see if Mr. Kijik can cut some of those Rick James moves in court. We'll have to wait and see. Now, Mr. Kijik, he is our dumb criminal contestant of the day, and if he is the overall winner at the end of the week, we will send him a Crime Talk mug. I'll even sign it. Maybe I'm Rick James, bitch. But either way, if you would like to have Crime Talk gear without having to become a dumb criminal contestant winner, please hit the link below. Go and order, and there's more there than just mugs. Hey, go check it out. Maybe you'll like it. Reasonable prices. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. We'll see you next time on Crime Talk.